Today we're inspired by the craftsmen of ancient Egypt to learn some basic joinery. Stay tuned. Greetings adventurers and welcome to Skill Tree, where we learn how to do just about everything. Okay, so I've been traveling for work a lot lately, and I actually found myself in Chicago recently. And while I was there, I visited the Art Institute of Chicago and saw this amazing Egyptian sarcophagus. The cool part about it though is some of the plaster and paint and stuff was peeled away, and I can actually see the craftsmanship as to how it was like made underneath. And for some reason, I was surprised to see that it was just like basic joinery. It was what you would kind of see in a workshop nowadays, which is so cool, right? Think of that. Think of the through line between, something from that long ago to now, and we're doing the same techniques in the same ways. That's such a neat connection to people in the past. I love stuff like that. So that was the inspiration for today's episode. I've realized that I was amiss. I've been doing woodworking for a while and have just never gotten into some of these basic joints. Mostly, to be frank, because I found them kind of intimidating, so if I was going to do a thing, I just kind of did it the fastest way I could do, which is glue and screw, to be honest. So this will be fun. As is wont on our channel, we're gonna learn something brand new together today. Before we get onto that, just a really quick plug. We're getting into like the LARP season and stuff, and people are getting ready to get all their like armor kit and stuff together to go play. But we actually have a really long-standing awesome deal with Bergschneider, purveyor of all types of medieval costumery and armor, where our community gets 15% off if they use our link down in the description below. We don't mention it enough, but it is a long-standing agreement that we have with them, so definitely make use of that. Okay, without much further ado, let's just jump right into this thing. Now, that initial discovery with like the sarcophagus led me down an interesting rabbit hole, because I never thought of the Egyptian culture in terms of like their wood craftsmanship, which is a shame because they actually have a really, really amazing culture behind that. Because there aren't many native trees that grow like straight and strong, right? A lot of the harder woods they'd have to work with would actually be smaller, kind of scrubbier things that don't grow very straight. So you'd have to make the most out of really short pieces. Otherwise, there was a lot of like shipping back and forth, right? They're bartering for wood, which means that wood is much more expensive too. So again, a little goes a long way. You have to make that last. And despite whatever foreman you might have on a brand new job site tells you, you cannot in fact stretch a board. Oh, I'll get you every time. But you can join boards together in order to make them longer and get those runs that you need. Turns out there's a whole bunch of ways we can do this. We can do like biscuit joining, we can do lap joining, just this myriad of ways they got this thing done. But I figured we'll start with one of the more basic ones, and I'm gonna work my way up over time, because again, there's a lot of different avenues we can go with this. So the first thing we're gonna try is a dowel joint. You've definitely seen this before. A lot of IKEA furniture actually comes together with dowel joints. It's just, you have dowels, you have holes in wood, you'll connect together. Nice and easy. The real trick though is lining your holes up, and I found a whole bunch of different like interesting ways to get this done. But the way I kind of like the best is actually just taking some nails that you might have lying around. All you do is you line up the head of the nail in the center line of that board, kind of where you want those dowels to sit, and you tap them into place. After you've got as many as you want to put in there, in my case I'm just doing 2, you then line up that next length of the board so that they're gonna like fit together perfectly, and you lightly tap that into place. What you're left with after you remove those heads of the nails there are these little divots that are perfectly lined up with each other. And I love this. This takes all of the guesswork and potential mistakes out of like measuring everything out. There they are. It's exactly where you need to drill. Now to actually connect these together, I have this 5/16 dowel. I believe it's 5/16, whatever dowel size you have that will fit. I'm gonna say 5/16 here. And I cut them down into 1.5-inch pieces that I'm gonna use for my actual connecting dowels. I find it easier if you go ahead and sand down the very edges of these things, just so that when they kind of find the hole, it slides in easier. Y'all know what I'm saying. Now, although we have the marks on the ends of the board there, I don't want to just go with whatever drill bit, in this case 5/16 drill bit, that we're going to be using, because it might dance around, it might move past that hole. So in order to make sure that these are going to stay exactly where I put them, I started off with this awl just to give myself a nice little point to start with, and then I pre-drilled those holes just to get myself straight and correct any issues there might be. If you start off with a bigger drill bit, the drill bit likes to walk around on you a little bit, and even if it moves a little bit, it's not gonna line up with those holes anymore, right? But now that we have them pre-drilled, it's really easy to go in with our 5/16 drill bit and get the holes exactly where we need them. For a depth, I'm making them just a little bit longer than halfway of this, the dowels there, just because I don't want to have to fight them and I don't want to misjudge it a little bit and like, hammer them in and have that little tiny gap. It would kill me inside. Going a little bit more isn't going to hurt anything. Going too little, it's going to be a pain in your ass. But yeah, once the holes are in there, it's a simple task to just glue everything up, making sure to get some glue on those dowels too before tapping them into place. Then I added some glue to the other board as well, lined my holes up, and used my hammer to marry those two together. After the glues had time to dry and I sand away any residual, look at how perfectly smooth that is. That lined up so good. And it's nice and strong, so picture you have like a long run to make sarcophagus or something, right? And you only have these short runs of wood, maybe cutoffs from other projects. You don't want to waste that, and you're going to be covering it up with like a plaster and paint anyways. So yeah, we're just going to marry these things together. It's super easy to do. And then once we have the length we need, we can go ahead and make it into our project. I love that. It's a great way to like save on wood. It's super smart, and again, it's very easy to do. Okay, so we have that one in our pocket, and though we have a lot of more easy ones like this in our vein, like a lap joint or whatever, I kind of wanted to start getting just a little bit more complex. So a thing that I've always loved that it turns out was used quite a bit in ancient Egypt are mortise and tenon joints. The way a mortise and tenon works is you have a piece that has a tenon on it, or like a little like nipple that comes out, I guess, for lack of a better term. And then you have a mortise or an inset area where that tenon can fit into. You carve those things out, you fit them together, and you use whatever kind of glue or you pin it together, which we'll see in a little bit as well. But yeah, all throughout the ancient world, these are a super common way to put things together, and I've always wanted to do it myself just with hand tools. I think it'd be really cool. So to figure this out, we're gonna be trying to put these two pieces of oak rail together. For starters, I lined up where they're going to connect, and I just made a mark so I know exactly where I wanted this to be placed later on. I then put the piece that'll end up being my tenon piece on top and overlapping it as far as I want that tenon to be deep. Now, if you want this to be a through tenon, as in that tenon goes all the way through the entire piece, then that's easy. You just kind of put it all the way through, leave it overhanging actually, just a little bit extra, and that's what it'll be. You can always cut that extra away so it ends up perfect. But we're not doing that. I want this thing to be a hidden tenon, so we're gonna try that out. But having that little shoulder measurement established, I just kind of set out this little marking gauge here and used it to make a mark all the way around the piece. I then adjusted that gauge to be about 1/8 of an inch, using it to mark all around the butt end of that piece so I knew how much I wanted to cut away. And you can see the shape I'm going for when I darken those lines with my pencil. With that established, it was off to my vise to hold this thing in place while I cut those things away. The hardest part is making sure that we're making nice straight cuts down, but I actually addressed some tricks on how to do that using this video here. But doing this on all 4 sides, I was able to make what's essentially going to be my little tenon piece here. After that, I just clamped it to my table and used my chisels to really clean everything up and get rid of all my tool marks. I also used a file just to make sure it was really smooth. If you leave a bunch of ridges and stuff, that's just a lot of things to get caught up while you're trying to put it in its place. That's right, Wood, I put you in your place. All right, so now that we have the width of the tenon, I can actually just line it right back up with my board so I know exactly how wide to make this, and then use that gauge that I set before to mark in at 1/8 of an inch. This, in theory, should give me the exact size that I need to make this hole, the mortise, for this to go into. Now, to make my life easier, I don't want to chisel all of this away. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove most of this with my drill bit. So first I just mark on my drill bit kind of how deep that tenon is. Then I use it to remove as much material as I feel comfortable removing with this drill bit. After that, it's pretty easy to go in with a sharp chisel and just slowly remove all of the bits and pieces that I don't need until I have a nice square, rectangular-ish hole, smoothed out all the way down. And I am so pleased with how this fit together. It force fitted nicely, all of the joints are nice and smooth, it's really strong. Of course, you glue something like this in place. I actually decided not to glue it. I like it so much, I think I'm gonna try to use that as part of another project, but I wanna be able to workshop it, so I wanna be able to take it apart. You don't waste anything, damn it. But I did think this was a cool opportunity to go into another technique that's used a lot, which is just kind of pinning something into place, right? I'm gonna pin this into place using a dowel like we did before. To do this, all you do is you drill a hole directly through both the mortise board and the tenon board. Just making sure you catch both pieces and don't actually like hit one on the end or something. Then I hammer in a dowel longer than it needs to be so that I can go back in and actually saw out all of the excess. This is gonna make sure it's absolutely perfectly flush. And this, even without any glue, is super strong. It's actually, I think, the strongest joint I've ever made. And this is just kind of like screwing around, learning how to make these things. I couldn't pull it apart. I couldn't like try to break it. Incredibly strong and tight. There were no gaps. Everything was perfect. I'm genuinely really proud of how this joint came out. And because it is a hidden joint, like if I needed to make that mortise maybe a little bit bigger or something like that, I could, and maybe just use shims or something in there to tighten it up. Or again, if we're using glue, really glue it together and then use maybe 2 dowels to really lock it into place. I'm just saying, this is a more forgiving joint, and I could see why it was used as frequently as it was used. Now, I'm gonna stop you in the comments section from saying that, like, I'm only focusing on Egyptian joints, but there's other cultures that are very well known. I know, like Japanese joinery, absolutely insane, incredible. This is just the one that kind of lit my fire, and I thought it was very interesting. I got a one-on-one experience with it. It's really important. Go to museums. If you're like a crafter, there's so many things I saw there that I'm like, I want to try that. Somebody did it 2,000 years ago, and I would like to learn how to do what they just did. I was super inspirational if you go into it with that eye to look for like, how are these things made? Very cool. I got a lot of good ideas for this channel from that one visit, so expect more fun museum finds here. But now I'm feeling a little big for my britches, right? We did 2 of them that I hadn't done before. Both of them came out good. That last one came out really good. So I decided we're gonna go for it. One of the other joints that I saw during this little exhibit where I was looking was actually where the foot connected to the sidewall, and they just had straight up like dovetail joints together, little dovetails, just like you'd see in like a drawer or something. Hold on a sec. Yeah, check it out. My drawer right here has them. Bam, little dovetails, right? Something that we still very much use clearly was being used back then, and that's so cool, and I want to know how to do it. And this is one that I was very intimidated by because I figured you needed to know some very precise measurements and whatever. But then I saw a video. I'm gonna link it down here. Very cool. I don't remember off the top of my head who it was. I apologize, but I'll find it again and link it down in the description. But there were no measurements. Guys just like, nah, don't worry about it. Just you're gonna make your cuts, and then you're gonna ship them away, and then you're gonna use that as your template for the next piece. You'll see what I mean. It's super easy. So I decided to go with that method. I'm just gonna try it. For this, I'm gonna be trying to put these 2 pieces of poplar together. I started by lining one up right on the edge of the other one and using a marking tool to show exactly kind of how thick that board is. That line is what we're gonna use to gauge how deep our cuts need to go. With that established, I used my saw, which is in fact a dovetail saw. I learned, just a saw I had, works out. But yeah, I made cuts at roughly-ish 30-degree angles to the best of my reckoning, trying to keep them nice and straight and stopping right at that line that I marked out. Just as an aside, as you can see here, I actually made my line on both sides. That's gonna make it easier to make sure that you're not like overcutting or undercutting when you're going through. With those cuts made, I just got to like removing the pieces. You're essentially making puzzle pieces that are gonna fit together. So I removed the pieces that I didn't need in this first puzzle piece here. Starting with the ends, and then going through with a chisel to remove those middle bits. This project taught me a very valuable lesson actually about chiseling. You'll see me starting to do it here, though my meaty mitts get in the way. But basically you want to start chiseling like, I don't know, like a 1/16 or an eighth of an inch away from your line. This is actually going to give the wood space to escape to. If you don't do that, I found that as you're chiseling into it, your chisel actually gets driven backwards a little, and it makes an indent into your wood. I didn't realize this until now, but yeah, just make your little marks ahead of time, and then you chisel on the line, and it gives a place for the wood to fall to so that you don't ruin that edge. Anyways, once all that extra wood is removed, I go back in with my chisels, just scraping away my tool marks and making sure everything's nice and clean. I now line my boards back up and use that piece that I just cut as a template for my next piece, tracing the insides of those cuts that I just made. Now it's a simple matter of just holding my saw at the angle of those lines and sawing straight down at that angle. Again, stopping at the lines we made to say how thick the board is, right? And once those are all removed, we have the other side of our puzzle piece. Like, look at it. Look at how cool this thing is. And I didn't glue it. Look at how strong that corner is. Though it is kind of ugly. Like I said, the first couple I did, I wasn't using that trick where you're a little bit away. So you can see the gaps that my chisel made. Learning process, right? But like, this is a softer wood and it's hard to do anything with it. It's like really strong. And it reminds me, I used to do some light demolition when I was in college as like a way to earn my way or whatever. And we would sometimes have to break apart desks. The ones that weren't dovetailed, I could literally take the drawers out, drop them onto their corner, and they would friggin' explode. They would just into pieces. I wouldn't have to do anything else. The ones that had dovetails though, I had to take a hammer to. Like, they wouldn't break apart here, they would break along the grain lines, like it was never clean. Yeah, I can tell you these are super duper strong. And look at that. I did that without nary a measurement, really. That's really, really cool. It's ugly. I'm not good at it. In fact, I was obsessed at this point that I'm like, no, I want to see if I can get it a little bit better. So I went through the whole process again with these oak boards here, thinking maybe if I don't do it with a softer wood and I'm really careful with those chisels, maybe I can get it just a little bit tighter. And honestly, I think I did a pretty good job second time around. Is it still ugly? Yes, compared to an actual carpenter who knows what they're doing. Sure, strong as hell, again, even stronger than this one obviously because of the material. But these are much tighter, barring the little space there where I knocked a piece away by accident while I was cutting it. Just error of the grain line. But yeah, they're nice and tight. They look really, really good. Again, they're really strong. I'm getting better. This is a thing I definitely want to practice over time. So cool. I love this. And way less intimidating than I thought it was going to be. Again, this is a thing that I genuinely put off doing. There were things that I kind of wanted to put together. I was putting boxes together. There's things on this channel where I'm like, I'm going to make a box. You're going to see me putting a cleat and then just kind of screwing or nailing into it. This would have been way better, and it is not that hard to do. It's hard to get perfect and make it look really good like that. There's a bit of skill there, but totally doable. So yeah, I've got these boys here. I've got this guy here, which again, super duper strong. And this, nice and flat. I think I did a pretty good job. But to me, this is still some of the coolest stuff ever. We as human beings have been doing this forever. And it's this neat kind of connection in my head, at least, when I'm doing a craft it goes back that far, to know that somebody else was doing exactly this same thing, right? They were trying to figure this out. There was somebody like me just learning how to do it, being like, oh, actually, if I do it this way, it's gonna come out a little bit better. Or having the inevitable thing where it screws up and you're like, damn it, and you throw it down. And then some archaeologist digs it up later on. They're like, interesting piece. I think that is so cool. I love that. I don't know what the message of this particular video is. Go to a museum, get inspired, I guess. This is all because I went to a museum and it genuinely inspired me to see the way that people put things together in the past. Let me know if you're interested in seeing more stuff like this. I'd love to get into some of the more intricate things that maybe were done in the past that aren't done now. Or maybe that's a cool place in YouTube Shorts, just being like, how did the Egyptians do it? Well, it turns out, You let me know. But I thought this was cool, and if you did too, why don't you give me some of that like it, love, and thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you know when I release new content. Also, if you want to be part of an awesome community, we have an awesome community. Check out our Discord. The people over there are constantly doing this amazing stuff you're seeing on the screen now. Not only are they making great projects, but they are helping each other through these projects, asking questions, learning how to do things, and generally just kind of chilling. More often than not, when I jump on, they're just trash talking me. It's a lot of love, I'm sure. I'm positive. I hope. But it's a good time no matter what. So yeah, if you're interested, definitely check it out. Link in the description below. All right, with that, I'm gonna go. I really want to tighten this up more. I want to learn how to. I think I'm gonna spend the rest of this day just making more dovetail joints, to be honest. In the meantime, though, keep leveling up, you. You made it to the end screen. YouTube loves it when you do that, and it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Another fantastic way to support this channel is by joining these people's noble ranks. These are our Patreon members, and we can't do any of this without them. It's thanks to them we have the money for wood to just try to hone our skills, or these lights and cameras that make everything happen. A giant shout out to our Grandmaster Patreon and hero, Froggy. If you like what we do here and want to support us, consider joining our Patreon, link in the description below. Otherwise, you can check out one of these videos YouTube thinks you'd like, and that actually helps out a lot too. Okay, to the shop! I must cut the tail of the doves.